Hello, this is a check-in video. Last time I was just recording anime analysis, so yeah, let's go back to my journey now. I was thinking a lot, came to a lot of realizations. I was analyzing past streaks and what happened. My very first streak, my spiritual awakening, how suddenly I hit flatline. Sometimes you go about your day, you deal with the issues at hand, and then different memories will pop up in your mind, or music will pop up in your mind that fits your mood. And then, if you listen to the music, you might process some feelings, some emotions, and it gives you some realization about some deeper layer of the issue at hand, and it helps you to solve the issue or deal with the issue. And when it comes to thoughts, it's similar. Like sometimes you even just think you have some issue, you are at the bus stop, suddenly you see a person walking by, and this person is the key to your issues. You can reach out later to that person or whatever. Such stuff can always happen. There's always a support system by God. But let's be honest, even though there is a support system by God and God helps you, there's also the counterpart that we are dealing with in this lifetime here, where always also some shit happens. And only this is why later you always get help from God, where something happens that helps you out of the problem. But first, always some problem comes up. And also memories can come up from childhood, or teenage years, or even like just from previous streaks. Something where you suddenly you think about something and then you realize the significance. Your brain took you to a certain thing for a reason. You remember stuff for a reason. It's like messages. Your brain is a supercomputer and it's operating on a subconscious level. You are not aware of all the processing and information that is available to your brain at any given moment. I always have a visual picture going on in my mind, how there's, I visualize my brain, or just brain in general, in my mind, and how there are many light up areas, like yellow clusters, and they build bridges to each other. And you have a lot of information that is theoretically at every point available to you, but you cannot reach it because it's stuck in your subconscious. And then if you, for example, take psychedelics or something, you have a better connection to your subconscious and you can pull more information from the ether. But it's not really the ether in many cases. In many cases, it's your subconscious mind that already has figured out a lot of stuff. There's even this movie Limitless. I just wanted to mention it quickly since I already was analyzing anime last time. It would be technically cool to analyze Limitless as well, but it's long ago I saw it. There's also a guy, he's taking some drugs, and it's some designer drug that helps you reach 100% brain capacity. And then suddenly he can speak different languages because he picked up on stuff in the past when he was watching television, and they were saying something in another language, and he learned it just by watching. And now he can take this information because he is in an elevated state of brain activity. And yeah, he becomes even always smarter and smarter. And then, like in the real spiritual awakening, you hit a point of flatline, and then the dark night of the soul approaches. So he's taking too much of the drugs, and then he has brain fog, memory loss issues. When he's on his peak, he can pull girls and everything, but then when he's overdoing the drugs, he will completely forget what happened and suddenly be somewhere and don't know what happened to him. And then he learns to conquer the drug and use it more responsibly, and it rewires his neurological pathways in his brain to the point where, even without the drug, he can access more of his brain power. And it's a very cool movie because every time when he has a flatline, so to speak, everything is shown very grayish and a lot of issues come up. People start to even like gang stalk him and create issues in his life. There's also at some point an evil guy who gets access to the same drug. It's really interesting to watch. And when they show that the power is working and he is in the higher elevated state, then everything is very colorful and very positive and shiny around him, because this is how he sees the world. This is also what happens when you have a spiritual awakening experience. Everything is super positive and it flows so easily. And they show how he has basically such a bird view on everything. You know, if he is in a difficult situation, he somehow sees the whole room and he can zoom into different aspects and directly come up with some in-moment solution. Like, oh, this guy over there is having a bat in his hand, I can run and take it and use it as a weapon against my enemy. But it's very sophisticated, yeah, it's very sophisticated. You have to see it for yourself. I think anyway, if I would show such stuff, it's more complicated to show it than anime. It's probably more like copyright restricted and so on. And then I would probably just be able to show screenshots and explain the way that I'm doing right now, so it doesn't matter. Basically, I just wanted to mention it first because, the movie is fascinating for sure. I recommend everyone who is on an awakening journey or likes psychedelics or is on retention to watch this movie to get some inspiration out of it. Perfume is another great movie. I mentioned it briefly at the end of the previous anime retainer analysis video. Yeah, but the point is, this is really how your brain works. It will give you information, and then if you process this information, you can get further ahead. Sometimes you get like a revelation out of something that comes to your mind. You know, when it came to my spiritual awakening and my first streak, I was mostly thinking about the positives and how it all worked out and how cool it was. And I was trying to chase this like a carrot that is in front of my nose. Very reasonable, I mean. Basically, since my awakening, this became my life mission. I don't like living without having a life mission. And I chose my own life mission, and it is to get back to this elevated state permanently. And this is a cool mission because it will take years, obviously, and it already took years, but I'm making progress. And on the way, I here and there develop some spiritual toolkits that are applicable, at least for a while, but oftentimes they would again diminish. Their results would diminish, the return on investment, for example, of meditation would diminish, and then I would gravitate automatically to another aspect, like I would stop the meditation and then I would do more of the yoga, then I would again stop with the yoga or whatever, and then it balances itself all out. I'm learning to use these toolkits more and more in a smart way. Yeah, because if you do Kundalini yoga too often, for example, actually it can lower your frequency and vibration, and you get lightheaded. I guess this is the right word. You're like zoned out, but not in a positive way. It's like you're in the clouds and not very fully present, or you erase too much of your current temporary ego, but then you cannot relate to people anymore properly. You know what I mean? And then you're more isolated. Stuff like this can happen. So I'm learning to balance out all the different practices that I found. Actually, I wrote down a list of the most effective practices. And I will get back to my memory later. Sorry. So the practices. Where are they? It helps sometimes to just go on the treadmill and get physical energy out of your body through kicking into the pedals of the treadmill, like a bicycle that you put into your room. It can help. Even this video recording can help. As you can see, I'm doing it not every day, but I'm doing it more in phases. Currently, I always do like 2 videos in a row, more or less, and then I have a few days of break, and then I again do videos. This can help. You're processing your feelings. What I didn't write down here as another example is going on walks. Going on walks can also help you process stuff and get your mind free, for sure. Meditation. If I meditate, I sometimes use music that I slow down to 0.25. I like trance music, like techno basically, and it pushes you into a meditative state. Or you can listen to binaural beats. especially the 9 solfeggio frequencies that have healing abilities. But of course, sometimes it's also nice to not listen to anything at all and do a classical meditation. You close your eyes, and I like burning benzoin sticks. They create smoke in my room, and I inhale it. And this type of smoke is healing. Basically, it's also supposed to help with urges. If you light benzoin sticks, your urges decrease. This is why I got into benzoin to begin with, but I basically continued because it also helps alter your mind while meditating. Normally if I meditate, I would not shut down my thinking completely, even though this is what they say you should do. I mean, sure, I try here and there, but I don't think it's really something you can really do. I think you can just slow down your thinking and be more relaxed and stop overthinking, but I don't think you can completely shut down thinking. I mean, in this case, you would completely lose touch of everything. And normally, I don't think it really happens. Like, I would always think, oh, how much time do I have left? Like, I put myself an alarm for an hour. And an hour maximum. Yeah. I didn't do it for quite a while. Half an hour is enough. I oftentimes did it for half an hour. But an hour is also nice. And I will turn down completely the windows. I close them, everything that is completely dark in the room. And I don't want to even see the burning stick of benzoin, so I would put on something over my eyes as well, and then I would sit there in total darkness, and I would try to make it as convenient as possible, take off my shirt if it's too warm, for example, so that this does not bother me, completely that I can relax into the experience. But yeah, like meditation, like I would, when I meditate, I would sink into a meditative state. I would feel like I'm sinking further and further. It's a really cool feeling. Or sometimes also suddenly something comes to my mind. Also with trance music, if I listen to it, I will go in my mind to the direction where the music is leading me to. And I would sometimes have some chakra light up completely. And then I could work with the chakra. If I'm in a bad mood, I can then easily pull up the energy from the lower chakra to the heart chakra, for example, stuff like this. Sometimes I would have vivid, sudden imagination, like I could, for example, imagine God in heaven with angels, but it would feel very, very vivid and powerful. And if you just have such an experience, you're priming yourself that later when you go out of the house, you emit this energy that you accumulated through meditation, and meditation alone can already be powerful enough to make you have a certain glow, that just because of meditation you go out of the house and people eye lock with you everywhere, because you're emitting something angelic, basically, because you connected, for example, with the imagination of a heaven, like I said. So this can be powerful, but like with everything else, you go on walks repeatedly, it's getting boring, you're not having so much to process. With videos, you do them every day, you have nothing to say and nothing to process as well. Meditation, you do it not often, you have a very powerful experience. You do it repeatedly, the experience shuts down. I mean, with weed and so on, it's probably the same, but weed is a drug, so it will push you higher even though it's not natural. So yeah. Like I say, weed is of course not the best thing in the long run. I do it a lot, I guess, but it's not optimal. Yeah, of course, it leads to euphoria and you can come up with nice ideas. Without weed, I wouldn't have had the idea to make my own YouTube channel. But yeah, weed is kind of artificial, and I guess if I would do it, for example, less often, it would have a more powerful positive effect. Yeah, but I mean, it's a bit like porn because it's too strong of an artificial hyperstimulation. LSD the same, but LSD I don't do often, so I did it twice in my life so far, and there was 8 months or so in between, I don't know, maybe less, maybe half a year, whatever. And then it's fine. Technically, you have a glow afterwards, a strong afterglow. But there are other techniques, I already said, I do TRE sessions, followed by Kundalini yoga. And yeah, you shouldn't do them all the time as well. And then you of course have the reset, sexual reset, where you do it without basic porn, because seeing nude females is a hyper stimulation. You should avoid it, and it lowers your energy. But if you do it without, and you do it the way that I explained in my Flatline reset on semen retention video, it can have a positive effect if you do it not often. So basically what I learned is I only do any of the modalities that I just told you, that I made a list of them. I do any of them only if I have a need to do them, because something in my life just randomly happens that pulls me down. And this is normal. All the time stuff happens in life for every person, I guess, and it pulls you down. So last time I was on a streak, the one that I recorded where I was saying, hey, I'm on a streak now recently, and then I was reaching nearly 30 days, and then my tooth broke. And I thought it's so not nice. Like, I'm on a streak and still this shit happens to me, you know? Normally it is true that when you're on a streak you get more spiritual alignment, and positive meaningful coincidences can happen, but it's still not a protection from bad stuff to happen. And this is also exactly during my first streak that I ever had. The memory that came up recently is what actually made the streak turn into a flat line. I remember I was feeling above the world and everything was going so well. And you know, because I was always going to the students' bars and people were paying attention and I had a lot of success. And then one time I was with my parents in their city, basically, not in my city. And for some reason I decided not to go back to my own city and go to the bar. So I skipped the bar, and fear of missing out kicked in, and it was stressful. And then later, when I again went to the bar and just started socializing again, I realized that my streak turned into a flat line. So now I understand that during my streak, I was faced with one of my core issues, because this is not healthy, of course, that you directly have such a strong fear of missing out, only because one time you don't go somewhere. You know, life always has stuff that happens, and then you cannot always get it your way. All the time something happens, something will break, and then you have to repair it or buy something new, and you have to wait for it, laptop, whatever. It's just examples. Your smartphone breaks, stuff will happen, and then it pulls you down. And you know, I don't know, some people say when they're on a streak, then the stuff that happens to them doesn't bother them that much anymore. But this is not my experience. Like, I feel like every time I was on a streak, after some crap happened, I started going into a flat line shortly after. So with my very first streak, this happened, yeah? That I had the fear of missing out and missed out on an event. Now during this streak, what happened is my tooth broke, and I was thinking this shouldn't happen and something is off. And then later, some suboptimal conversations with people happened because my energy was not the highest anymore. It was a subconscious decline in my energy that started, I guess, to happen after the tooth incident. Okay, for one, what this tells me is you can be on a streak and still stuff happens that is not favorable, okay? This is normal, this is part of life. It doesn't mean that you are not doing your streak correctly and so on. But the other issue is, and then you start to feel bad. Like recently again something happened and I started to feel bad. It's still tooth related, because first the tooth broke and I had to walk to the doctor, and they said, yeah, you need a replacement and it will cost 3,000 euro. I was like, what the heck? You know, I'm on retention and this is the news that I'm receiving, that I have to pay 3,000 euro. I don't even have much money, yeah? I'm still not having a job. Yeah, but now recently other issues come up, yeah? Because the tooth thing is now an ongoing story. You know, I had to wait for other appointments to see if other doctors say the same thing or have another opinion, if my tooth really needs to get pulled out or not. And then it got pulled out, and then I was not able to do workout. And then because I was not able to do workout, my day was bad because I had nothing else to do since I'm retaining and everything, and I was feeling bad. But it's not only because I had too much time, it's also because I guess I'm kind of depending on working out. It's part of my identity that I don't want to lose the gains. And if I lose the gains, I feel bad. And again, too weak of a person, of a character I have in some ways, that something small can come and it completely destroys my mood, like kind of permanently. Like it will be bad for quite a while before it gets better again. And normally this is something I should deal with, but it has nothing to do with retention. You just have to learn to be okay with stuff, I guess. I mean, life always brings them up and teaches you to be okay with them or something. But I think this is core issues because my fear of missing out on my first streak, it was in end of 2018 or early 2019, yeah? Actually, yeah. And even now, if I don't go to the bar, I still have fear of missing out. So many years went by, like 7, 8 years, whatever, and even now, I still would have fear of missing out. This is for me like a core character flaw. I like basically I feel like I'm getting irrelevant if I don't show up, or if I'm not optimal, like I'm not working out and so on. Basically, it's different indicators of having low self-esteem or social insecurity issues. Basically, this is what all of this points to. Yes. So I would have to work on them, but these have nothing to do with retention. Like retention is just an overlay you put on top of that. It's like a tool you just use to avoid feeling down, and it feels a bit like a tool to avoid consciously dealing with your issues and facing them. Because what I'm trying to do with the streak is to artificially stay all the time in higher energies through a practice. It's not about really facing my issues. I'm trying to avoid my issues. And I think many retainers are doing the same. If you look at the retainers on YouTube, many times it's some people who have some problem from past. They have some background story where something went wrong in their life, and this is why they found retention in the first place. And I mean, in my case, I found it also, God gave it to me because I was praying to Him to help me. And then the next thing that happens is I'm on Reddit somehow randomly. I am researching how to get better with girls. This was the case back then. But for the first time in my life, I found about semen retention. I mean Nofap, to be precise. And it was so cool, yeah. There was such a guy, and he was like a total like ladies guy. All the time, like he had a website where he was bragging about his success and that he can also help you, he's a coach. But he was so next level. Like he had stories like, yeah, I would just go on the street, then I would randomly see a girl, we would eye lock, and so I would come up to her and kiss her. This is the this is the crazy level this guy was having, and I was so fascinated by him. But anyway, enlightened people like Eckhart Tolle, I already mentioned, they never talk about semen retention, but I mean, they would probably agree that it's not smart to all the time spill your seed and indulge, but there's a difference between indulging and just entertaining your sexuality from time to time, because entertaining your sexuality can actually have a self-regulatory effect on your emotional state. And if you don't do that because you are on a streak and you are always on retention, what actually can happen is that you get super stiff and you get no good access to your emotions anymore. But the longer you do it, the more you start to carry around with yourself a heavy bag of unprocessed emotions, and at some point they will weigh you down. And this is why at some point you are hitting the flatline. And even when the flatline is over, some people would report that when they are again having more energy, it's still not as crazy as in the beginning. I mean, the craziest stories are oftentimes from people who are complete gooners, and then they can finally abstain for one day because for them it's already crazy, and then they get some superpowers in the moment. Yeah, like I don't know, like the experience of different people honestly is different. Some seem to have a high success on retention, on long-term retention of over 200 days and so on. Then they will say like, yeah, no, I still have all the attraction benefits and everything. They will say it like that, but they don't really go into them. So if you just look at what they normally talk about, and they talk about lame stuff like workout progress and I don't know, they have not much to say, honestly. Even if then they say, no, no, actually, we still have the benefit with the attraction and so on, it seems not that prevalent anymore. Like, I'm not just about the attraction, of course, but it really seems to me long streak in many cases has not the same effect. You know, even if I watch people like Rin and so on who talk so positively about it, still something is no, I don't feel like it has such a powerful effect. But this is exactly because you're not processing your emotions and so on. Like I was watching some long-term retainer. How is his name again? I completely stopped watching him. Regal Change, and he is on over 4 years. And he was saying he made an art, a picture, a painting because someone asked him to do it. So he did it for him. And then this guy later took the painting and did not pay the guy. He did not pay Regal Change the money for his art. So he was completely not respecting him, and the only reaction of Regal Change was, okay, if you need it so bad and you don't want to pay, here you go, have fun. You know? But the point is, he got mistreated, even though he is on a 4 years plus streak. And he was also checking his testosterone levels at the doctor, and they were not as high as expected. Yeah, yeah, because people like him, they also say they have issues with their family and so on. You don't process your issues, bro. This is why you're on the streak for 4 plus years, and still stuff happens that is not positive. You know, and they make their life so much more difficult than it's necessary. They are on 4 years of retention, he and other people, and they're like, yo, I'm still building up my life, and when I have my life built up, I will find myself a girlfriend. You're on a 4 year streak. Why you're still building up your life and you are still not even taking a girl? You're like afraid of girls, that they will lower your energy. This is not healthy. Like you are throwing away your life completely. You're not indulging in anything that is pleasurable. I mean, this is by itself a good thing. But then you're also in your normal life don't compensate. You don't even have a girlfriend. You're just working, working, working. You're building yourself up. You're building your life up. You're doing workout and you're grinding. Yeah, and then later you're old and then you're like, ha, I was retaining. I'm proud of myself. But your life feels like retention. You know, you didn't really enjoy life in any way. That's not cool. You have to process your deeper stuff, is what I'm saying. So when I got in bad mood, because I couldn't work out, you know, what should I do? I cannot just magically explain to myself, hey, this is not reasonable, only because you don't work out for a few days or maximum a week as prescribed. It doesn't mean that your gains will go away and no one will like you anymore. Of course, that's all bullshit. But this is not how your nervous system works. You have somehow learned, and this is your self-image that you hold, that this is important, and so you will feel bad. I mean, maybe this is me making progress, because in the past I would have not even been aware of these issues. Now I'm aware how small stuff pulls me down only because I have some wrong self-image. I mean, if you go very hardcore and you just now again remember Eckhart Tolle and other enlightened, you know, people, you would now come to the conclusion, I have to drop all of it because I have to stop identify with my body and with my story and I'm just an eternal being. But I mean, is this really like something that you can just do like this? Aren't you supposed to process your issues and then you can let go of them, and then you can stop identifying with them, right? And how do you do it? I mean, maybe I'm on it because now I am aware of them, and there must be a reason why I am aware of them. And yeah, maybe at some point they will just stop having such a strong impact on me. And I think I have already a timeline in mind. I think it's always healthy to create timelines for yourself, that you can stick to them and you use them as orientation. So you have some idea of how the healing is going to happen, and then you go in this direction and fake it till you make it. You're priming yourself for success. So the point is, when I was feeling so bad because of the whole workout and issue, and that I have too much time because the tooth got pulled out, I decided to do one of the reset methods that I have in my repertoire. Yeah, like one of them is meditation, but this is not a strong one. TRE and Kundalini yoga is a strong one, but I already did it recently and I really did not feel like doing it again. Maybe at some point I decide to always go for TRE and Kundalini yoga, but I am automatically, subconsciously already cautious of it, because in the past I know that if you do it too often, it will have a bad effect. Maybe it would have had a good effect because I would have only done it in this particular case where my emotional state is already low. Maybe in this case Kundalini yoga always helps to uplift you again, but I wasn't sure and I didn't feel like it. And this is something that happens automatically because this is how I'm subconsciously primed through my prior experiences. And this is again where the bigger picture comes into play about the brain already having a lot of information that you just don't know about in that given moment. But this is what already steers you in a certain direction. Your supercomputer is basically like God. It has more information than you know, and it already steers you in different directions, and sometimes you just have to explore and experiment, but you get a better and better grip. For example, in the past I would sometimes do Kundalini yoga like every second day or so, and this was too much and I learned it. Then I completely dropped it. Now I automatically, because it's just time somehow, my spirit is doing that basically, started picking up this practice again, but in a more smart way, where I'm doing it rather lesser than too often. So, because I last time already felt bad recently, not long ago, and did a TRE and Kundalini yoga reset, I decided to this time do the sexual type of reset that I am talking about in the Flatline reset on semen retention video. So basically like a relapse, but I already said multiple times on this channel that I don't consider them necessarily relapses. You know, if I have a streak and it turns into a flatline, then I call them reset. But I think it's even smarter to just call them recalibration. In general, I think, you know, the whole idea about going on a streak and counting the days, it's so obsolete. It's really not anymore. I think it's outdated. You know, what I normally do is, when I feel like I'm on a streak, I will call it a streak. I'm in a streak energy, like whatever. And then when I feel like I'm in a flatline, I will say I'm in a flatline. Yeah, relapse cycles is something that I transcended finally, because I learned through my own experience that doing edging every day will lower your energy over time, and you will not necessarily notice it, but in the long term, if you do it often enough, at some point you realize that, okay? So I learned that. But if I feel down, you know, this is my current approach, that every second time I feel down, I just do the TRE session and Kundalini yoga, and every other time I do the sexual reset. Without porn, because if you do porn, you are hyperstimulated and it's not good. Yeah, because the point is also, when you do this reset, it's basically edging. Like, I'm not even ejaculating, okay? Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not really losing semen. That's also the point. Like, I keep it high. But when you do that, then energy gets down into your lower chakras, because this is where your sexual energy is and so on. And then when next time you again feel bad because something in life happens, then you do the Kundalini yoga with TRE session, blah blah blah. Then you again push up sexual energy to the higher chakras, right? And this is what worries me about doing just Kundalini yoga too often. Kundalini yoga pushes your energy up. So if you just do all the time this, then maybe you get lightheaded, like I was in the past. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe every time you get into low energy, you can do Kundalini yoga, because low energy means that your energy already was sinking into lower chakras and you push it up again. I'm still figuring this out. I just know that last time I did not feel like doing it, and so instead, when you really feel bad, then you don't want to do Kundalini exercises, because they are difficult. It's like workout, and when you really feel bad, you don't want to do workout. You already feel bad and you don't want to put more pressure on yourself. You know what I mean? And this is why I was just sexually recalibrating myself. And it was super enjoyable. That's the point. If you don't do it every day, and not even every second day, you do it like whatever, once every 2 weeks or whatever. Edging, not even releasing, not even ejaculation. It's super enjoyable, especially when you only do it because you were feeling down. This really pushes you up, and afterwards I was not feeling down anymore. And I think this is the only thing that really matters. You can be on semen retention and you have the high discipline and people will respect that. But are you happy? Because if you're not happy, even when people respect you, it doesn't mean that it will give you the outcome that you're searching for. You want to have the optimal streak experience, so to speak, where you completely feel aligned with everything and you are happy, and not, oh, I feel bad but I'm still retaining because I'm such a masculine guy and I have the discipline, and then when I go out of the house I get attention. But what if you are alone in your place? You get nothing. You're like, I have to continue retaining and I have to do productive stuff, I have to work out, and I have to build my business like I'm a machine, and then the result is not the best. The energy that you're putting into all of these stuff, yes, it's disciplined maybe, but it's also full of some suffering that you're repressing, because you're also not processing your emotions at all. And, sexual recalibration can help with that. Like I said, I don't tell you to release, so you're also actually like retaining, basically. If you overdo it, the edging, then you lower your energy. But it's the same with Kundalini yoga. Even this, you overdo it, you lower your energy. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you cannot reach the highest state if you do it like this. I'm not sure. Maybe you can. If I keep doing this practice in such a regulated way, maybe I will. Point is, I was feeling better after I did it. And if you feel good, people treat you well. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter if you relapse or not. If you feel better after what you did, then you emit a positive energy and people respond positively to you. This reminds me of another core memory from a last streak from a while ago, years ago, where I was having such a tough day at school and everything, university actually. And then I went home, and back then I relapsed super strongly 3 times in a row to porn. And the next day all the girls were all the time around me. This was ridiculous. And this is because I did it when I was feeling low, and I released this negativity from my system, and I did something nice to myself. Yeah, back then it was like this. So yeah, if I wouldn't have done it, I would just continued being in a flatline, low state. These are core truths. This I can tell you for sure. Yeah, and so after this recalibration that I had now, honestly, not everything is perfect, but I feel like I did a lot of positive progress. Like I understand much better my own biophysiological structure. And this is what retainers don't do. They just very stupidly, very, very stupidly try to retain no matter what, and it just does not lead to the results that you expect. But I feel like I cracked the code, at least to some degree. Like maybe in the future by myself, at some point I will decide not to even do sexual recalibrations at all because they are obsolete. But since my system is craving them from time to time, if I do it in the right moment and I don't go against my own idea and structure of how it's supposed to be, I'm still disciplined in my own way, and actually I pull myself up. I mean, even when there's someone who is hardcore cigarette smoker, normally he will not just stop. In many cases, he will, for example, buy those plasts that you put on your arm, and they still give you some nicotine because he can cope better, and eventually he stops. Even when I was learning to swim, this can serve as an analogy. I was so worried of swimming, and the only way people could teach me to swim is by giving me different stuff that I had to wear, where I was automatically floating on top of the water, and then they would decrease the amount of stuff that they were putting on me until at some point I could swim by myself. And this is also something you can do if you want to learn to completely stay abstinent. But I am at this point just not sure if this is even the right way. Like sex, I would at all not stop. Like sex is a good thing. Yes, maybe only with the right person. I do think you are syncing up your chakra system, especially the sexual chakras, with the other person. If you are doing something, you can even get some spiritual entities, transferal, and in general, you're syncing up with your partner. If you have a long time partner, you will start to notice that when you are going through something physically, for example, in many cases the other person has something similar. I would vape or something, and then I would have throat issues. Then I would decide it's enough and I finally stop vaping, and then my girlfriend would also get some throat issues. And this is just an example. Or that you lie in bed still awake thinking about stuff, and your partner is randomly moving or making noises like something. The moment you have a realization in your own brain, you know, there's some energetical interferences going on with people who are mingling with each other. Okay, this was a little detour. Yeah, but basically what I think is going to happen is, look, now I finally learned not to just edge because I'm bored or having too much time. I mean, of course, even this is a form of recalibration, because if you're bored, you already don't feel good, and this is why you are recalibrating. But you learn, to be going more with the flow. You learn to only, you call it relapse if you want, do it when you are in a low mood. Because, I don't know, anyways, like if you're in a low mood, then the streak is not really doing its thing, whatever. And you learn to only recalibrate when necessary. This is also why I don't want to call it a reset. And this is just one of different modalities. You don't always even want to do it. Like sometimes you do the yoga or something. And I will continue experimenting. I'm young. I'm 31 and a half years old. I have a lot of time, and I'm getting better and better and better. This is also a concept you have to keep in mind, that in life we are always growing, and then we do 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And this is how it goes all the time, and this is also what happens when you have a streak and then you relapse, and then you learn something from it, and next time you go on a streak again. And yeah, you get more and more often in such a streak energy, or where your charisma is high and you have a glow. This happens more and more often because you learn from your mistakes. And for me, the fact that I'm not edging every day or something, and instead I only do it to recalibrate, for example, is a huge already... it's going in the right direction. Not everything is perfect right now. I am feeling tired. It's already, again, nearly a week ago that I did it. But yeah, today was a day I was feeling super tired. But I guess it's also because I used too much still weed and even pills to get lucid dreaming and stuff like this. But other than that, like, I'm really on a positive momentum still. Like I say, it's maybe not optimal, and we will see how it continues. I think getting some sexual energy into your system through edging can be beneficial and can make you not go into flatlines, but I'm still learning the proper balance and everything, of course. But I mean, in many aspects, I feel on top of the world at the moment. And just on Saturday, we were going to a festival, and I got a bit high, but I was feeling a bit like a godlike entity because everyone was eye locking with me. Also, all the girls were eye locking with me at the summer festival. And I could even just listen to the acts on stage, and they would rap or something, and there were too many references that I could identify in what they were rapping to my own personal life experience. It means I was super synchronized with the universe in this moment. This is what it means. But other than that, my stocks went up as fuck. I made a lot of money. I'm very confident at the moment. Also, in general, I'm just a confident guy right now. I can eye lock with people right now. I mean, even the videos I was creating recently got more views. This is also a clear marker for me. There are moments you feel like you are on a streak and your stocks are not good, or your views are also not good. This can also happen. This is all the different types of suboptimal streaks where you are building something, but it's just not the optimal thing yet, but it already has a lot of good aspects. And you're like an alchemist that is learning to find the perfect cocktail and balance, where you are in the completely highest taste state. But yeah, but in this case, all my numbers are going up. That's already really cool. And then I even go to the doctor and tooth doctor, and she even is flirting with me. She's also some MILF, and she sees that I'm going to check after my tooth got removed, and because I don't have a swollen face and everything, she is multiple times telling me, you look good, but she is telling it to me like she's flirting. I mean, I don't know, it's ridiculous. It definitely gives you an ego boost. Okay, yeah, so this is my current experience. Learning to recalibrate, to reach higher states by quickly processing negative emotions out of my system that arise due to life circumstances, and for this using different systems from my toolbox, including sexual recalibration and yoga, and then experimenting which tools are the most effective ones and which tools might at some point even can be cut out completely. This is what I'm doing right now. Maybe at some point I will just try to do Kundalini yoga twice in a row with TRE session. Maybe. So I'm learning, I'm progressing. I think it's very good progress. Like in the past when I had my Dark Night of the Soul, I had the lowest momentum. It was already after the spiritual awakening, after I found out about semen retention. Back then it was the most difficult for me to handle my energy in a good way, so my charisma was the lowest, and since then I'm only building up all the time. It's not like I'm always in the highest state, obviously, where I just go out of the house and I have 3 girls randomly competing for me or something. But I'm getting more and more of the very positive momentum, and less of the downtime where someone would give me a weird look or a weird comment. And this is very, very valuable, that over the years I was able to get a better and better grip on that. And if you just take this trajectory where stuff is already going and you extrapolate, then you will see that I am basically going towards my haze state, And if at some point I think that to go higher I need to cut out even the sexual recalibration, whatever, then at some point I will probably do it. But everything in its own divine timing, and I'm sure it will take me not long, and I will be there, honestly. Yeah, and I also think that when all the time something in your life happens that pulls you down, and you directly use one of the different recalibration skills, and you just then are feeling good again, you increase your core frequency, and I think at some point the negative stuff will happen less and less often, or if it happens it will also affect you less and less, because every time something will come up you already will think, actually I know how to handle it. I will just go home and do a reset or a recalibration or yoga or whatever, and then I will feel better. And the funny part is, It will even boost you because you process your negative emotions, and then you get more charisma than if not something bad would have happened. That's also interesting. It's the same with crying. When I was feeling bad, sometimes I was also tired, and this helped to make it happen that I would cry. You know, especially when you're tired, then it's more easily to cry. And then this is like a release. There's a word for this. I think catharsis is the word, where your body is also like shaking and releasing the negative energy. And then because of this, you also have a stronger glow, and your eyes are more wide, and you eye lock easier with people, and you have stronger charisma. This is also an example that I learned already years ago, that just crying during the day helps me later to have more charisma. And I was sometimes applying this on purpose. Like I would watch something that would make me cry if I know that same day I later go out. It would happen sometimes if I would watch this super brutal cartoon for adults, Invincible, that they would show something and it makes my body shake to the degree that later it's like a catharsis, and then I go out and have a greater charisma because of it. So yeah, I mean, this is how it works. I mean, even Eckhart Tolle is talking about this, that whenever something bad happens in your life, and he is not free of this, he even has a video where he tells that he found out that he was diagnosed with cancer. So enlightened people go through the same stuff, and he says whenever something bad happens, including this extreme example, it just makes him sink deeper into the now moment and become more present in the stillness. Basically, it helps you dying while still alive. It kills your ego. And we have to see when something bad happens in our lives, we have to see it through the same layer. But the point is, we don't need to linger in negative feelings. We can self-regulate and recalibrate. And using sexuality is one tool, and there's a reason why it exists, and it is beneficial. And to go even further with that, sex has a lot of positive applications that just can help you. For one thing, there's sexual rituals. I mean, tribes were often held together because they would come together in the past, many centuries ago, and then they would do some orgy ritual or something that binds the group together. Or partners. Why do partners have sex? It binds them together. But then there's stuff like manifestation rituals, sex magic. Not all of them are positive. Some of them probably go into a dark occult, aspect. But we are not talking about this here right now. But I mean, it can help because you have a strong climax moment and you can use it to manifest something if you focus on it. Or I had experiences where I was just watching Safe for Work content, and this helped me on a streak to manifest these types of girls that I was seeing on screen before, because I somehow primed my subconscious, but also the energetical field of the whole environment, because you cannot possibly manifest it just through your own subconsciousness, that people come into the bar that exactly have wearing the stuff that you saw online. There's some higher spiritual thing going on. It's not just your own subconsciousness. This is metaphysical. Okay,